Hello everyone, welcome to StudyIQ IAS English channel. My name is Shubham Sagar and today we'll start SUFI movement, lecture 20 revolving around SUFI movement. And again, lecture 19 was Bhakti movement. Today we are talking about SUFI movement. If we talk about NCERT, first of all, we'll have a brief introduction about Sufism. What is Sufism? What is the history of Sufism? When did they become popular? They are as old as Islam itself, but they become popular during a particular period when we are talking about our medieval history. So there is a particular period when Sufism became very popular in Indian subcontinent. What was that particular period? Sufism is a very new word. Nobody knew about this particular word up until 19th century. So what was the word with which we used to associate Sufism? Because Sufism, again, nobody understood Sufism before this particular word Sufism before 19th century. Good evening, Bulbul. So the name was, or the term was Tasawwuf. Again, Sufism, the word origin, from where it has originated. So many things to talk about. What is the concept of silsila? And again, the two chapters which we have seen in Bhakti movement, good evening Charita, the same two chapters will be referring from Sufism also, class 7 chapter 6 and class 12 chapter 6. So let's start Sufism, Sufi movement. And first of all, let's talk about a little history of Sufism and then we will see NCERT, etc., etc. So advent as early as Arab invasion of Sindh. Arab invasion of Sindh, we have talked about this, and pay attention to the keywords here. These keywords are important. From these keywords, UPSC or other exams ask questions. Here we are majorly focused on UPSC. But again, if UPSC asks something, very high probability that other exams will also ask it sooner rather than later. So advent as early as Arab invasion of Sindh. Arab invasion of Sindh happened in 712 AD. So when we were talking about Rajputs, when we were talking about early medieval period, then we have talked about Arab invasion of Sindh. Fine. And then we also talked about a particular kingdom which stopped Arab from, coming into the Malwa region, etc., etc. If you know, good evening, if you know which particular kingdom stopped Arab from coming to Malwa region, you can post it in the comment section. Fine. The roots of Sufism. So it's as old as Islam itself. That is what the first line says. Islam originated 7th century AD. As early as 8th century AD, you are saying Sufism. The traces of Sufism. However, the roots of Sufism gained significant grounds during the question mark period. So what is the question mark period? The question mark will be removed by Delhi Sultanate. So during the Delhi Sultanate period, Sufism became very popular and there were certain, again, if you go back to Delhi Sultanate lecture, we have talked about a particular, very good Anju. Anju is a good girl. So if we go back to Delhi Sultanate, we have talked about a particular Sultan who was the first Sultan to visit the Dargah of a particular Sufi saint. If you know the name of that particular Sultan, again, you can post it in the comment section. So all these things will lead to Sufism becoming very popular during the Delhi Sultanate period. Now, the second word, the thing which we have discussed just few seconds earlier, that nobody knew about Sufism. This word is as new as 19th century, and when we say 19th century, we mean 1801 to 1900 AD. So before this particular period, what we used to call Sufism, we used to call it Tasawwuf. Tasawwuf. Tasawwuf kya hai? What is Tasawwuf? Tasawwuf is the original name of Sufism. Sufism is a British term given in 19th century. When I'm saying one thing again and again and again and again, that means that particular term is very important from exam perspective. Why Arabs invaded Sindh, sir? Main reason is expansion. Yes, main reason is propagation of Islam. And they are expanding here, there and everywhere. So when they are expanding in Indian subcontinent, they have conquered Sindh. So here we are talking about Sufism. The origin word is Suf, Safa and Sufa. Suf means wool. So they used to wear woolen clothes, so Suf. Safa means purity. They had pure heart. Or when we talk about Sufism, it's very similar to Bhakti movement or Bhakti, the tenets of Bhakti. Rather than external conduct, focus on inner purity. So here also we are talking about Safa, purity. Sufa, it is said that it is a place outside the Prophet Mosque where people used to sit and used to, share their feelings and everything. Transmission of knowledge. We'll talk about Sufa also. I will show you where these particular words are there in. This particular word, Suf, Safa and Sufa, you will encounter it in class 12, chapter 6. So again, we have to pay attention to these two chapters which we have seen in Bhakti movement as well. But first of all, we have to gain a little bit idea about Sufism and then we can understand NCERT in a much better manner. So this is a crux, this is a basic idea. So Advent in India, again, as it's as old as Islam itself, 8th century AD only you see traces of Sufism in, the different parts of Western Asia. But in 12th and 13th century, Delhi Sultanate popularized it, different rulers popularized it. How do they popularize it, or how did they popularize this? We'll also see. Even as late as Mughals, Akbar used to go to the dargah of different Sufi saints because he was not having any son. And whenever he used to have any child, those child used to die. And then he went to different dargahs, and one particular dargah, when he went there, he again prayed for a child. That child was Humayun, and then he gave some dag or cauldron to that particular Sufi saint's dargah. We'll talk about that. So 12th and 13th century Sufism became popular during the period of Delhi Sultanate. Different silsila. See, why Sufism emerged? When we'll see NCERT, you will realize it more and more. Because materialistic aspects started growing in Islam. Again, these are different. Sufism is what? Sufism, we have discussed this earlier also. Many people believe that even today when we go to, Moinuddin Chisti's dargah or different dargahs, so people of all sects go there, religion go there. But even then you cannot forget that Sufism is a Islamic mysticism movement, right? So here, why it emerged? Because again, in Islam also some materialistic aspects emerged, and as a reaction to that, Sufism emerged. Here also, what kind of conduct a Sufi will do, or carry out in his life. Based on that also different silsilas emerge. That means if we have to simplify it further via a diagram, so Islam, Sufism emerged along with other sects, Shia, Sunni, etc., etc. And not only this, Sufism, Wahhabism, you can take so many, Farezi movement, etc., etc. Inside Sufism, how Sufi should conduct themselves. Based on that, according to Abul Fazl, in his book Ain-e-Akbari, he talks about 12-13 silsilas. Out of those 12-13 silsilas, Chishti, Suhrawardi, Naqshbandi, all these silsilas became very popular. Sir, you said the 19th century it came to know. Yes, I am not saying it, Charita. NCERT will say that the word Sufism was coined by Britishers in 19th century. Before that, Sufism used to be known as Tasawwuf, as we have seen earlier. Tasawwuf was the origin word of Sufism. So they can ask you, Tasawwuf means, and they will give you 4 terms. So remember, Tasawwuf is the old name of or original name of Sufism. Shia Muslims, fine. So here, Chishti, Suhrawardi, and what do I mean when I say make map? This is a little story on Sufism, which you can use even in your mains answer. That will give you clarity in pre also, and that you will use to eliminate options. So generally what happens, Chistis, they became very popular in Delhi, Ajmer region. Suhrawardi, they were very famous in Kashmir region, especially also in Bengal region. And same with Naqshbandi, Muradabadi, we'll talk about it. And then there was, you will see what happened in Kashmir. Initially, Sufism was a dominant form of, Islamic mysticism movement in Kashmir. Later on, they tilted towards Wahhabism, which is an extreme form of Islam. And that's why people say that in Kashmir, if you're seeing the rise of militancy, it has to do a lot with Wahhabism. If Sufism would have persisted there or would have remained there, Kashmir would have been relatively peaceful. So please understand all these things which we are discussing. Fine. So in mains, let's say this question comes on mains and UPSC love Bhakti and Sufi. So try to make map, try to show where Chistis are popular. Delhi, Ajmer region, Suhrawardi, Peshawar and Multan region, also in Bengal region. And these two are the most popular out of 12 or 13 silsilas mentioned by Abul Fazl in his Ain-e-Akbari. And then Naqshbandi, Muradabadi. There are other silsilas also, we'll talk about them. Fine. And then they coin certain things, certain talks and all those things. It is better to sit alone than in company with the bad. And it is better to still to sit with the good than alone. It is better to speak to seeker of knowledge. And you can understand what he's trying to say. But silence is better than idle words. We become the average of 5 people we surround ourselves with. So be very aware whom you are surrounding yourself with, right? So that is the basic gist. And then some more bol bachan, but very cute words and very true words have been spoken by some Sufi saints. Advent in India, what we are seeing, Sufism is as old as Islam, became, we are seeing traces of Sufism from 8th century onwards, Arab invasion of Sindh. But during the Delhi Sultanate period, it became very popular. And then there are certain Sufi saints whom you will hear a lot. NCERT will tell you which Sufi saints are important from exam perspective. And out of those, let's say there are 4 or 5 Sufi saints who are very important. Sir, can you please suggest any book for environment if you don't mind? environment, what would I suggest you? Environment, for that I won't suggest you any book. Sankar's environment many people suggest and whatever, I don't know. But I will suggest you current affairs. Just follow current affairs in like entirety and see in current affairs what is in news. Let's say if there is COP, Conference of Parties, UNFCCC, that is in news. So pay attention to that. Again, whatever is in news, you have to read that. UPSC generally, when we talk about environment, so generally ask from the dynamic portion, and which dynamic portion, that will be told by your current affairs. So last 1 year current affairs rather, Charita. You can focus on that. So we'll talk about it later on also when history is done. So don't worry too much about it. But yes, focus on current affairs. That is actually important when it comes to environment. So Nizamuddin Aulia, and here we have written question mark. Nizamuddin Aulia, Moinuddin Chishti. We'll talk about all these Sufi saints, and in NCERT also, especially class 12 chapter 6. You will see there is one Sufi saint about which NCERT talks a lot. Jahan Ara has written a commentary or biography on that particular Sufi saint. So that Sufi saint becomes very important, very, very, very important. We'll see that. So Nizamuddin Aulia and Amir Khusro question mark. So what does this question mark means? This question mark means that Amir Khusro was a disciple of Nizamuddin Aulia. So this is also an important question from exam perspective. They can give you Amir Khusro anyway. He's a very, awesome personality. He's a polymath, polyglot. He knows so many subjects like Hindavi, Urdu, then your Qawwali. So many things are associated with Amir Khusro, Veena, etc. So he is a guy who is awesome. Fine. So we'll talk about him. So Nizamuddin Aulia, he is the guru of Amir Khusro. You have to remember that. Moinuddin Chishti, etc. Again, you can read it. Reasons for popularity and influence. Again, just like Bhakti movement, they are talking about spiritual devotion. They are saying that whatever materialistic aspects Islam has started, talking about, or, the different ulemas, etc., they are doing it, and they are going a little bit too materialistic. This you can also compare with when we are talking about Buddhism, when we are talking about postmodern period. At that period time, we have seen that monks and nuns, according to Upinder Singh's ancient and early medieval India, that even the monks and nuns, they got involved in the Indo-Roman trade. So this is also one form of materialism. Similarly, different forms of materialism were being seen in Islam as well. So they are saying that no, and external conduct, we have to do this. See, we will see, when we will see NCERT, you will see there are 5 tenets of Islam which NCERT talks about. One of them is you have to read namaz 5 times a day, and then dan and all those stuff. Again, here we are not here to read each and every aspects of particular religion, etc. No, we are talking about what NCERT talks about and what are the areas we have to focus on. Then there are so many terms when it comes to Sufism. So many terms. So what terms we have to focus on, that NCERT will tell us, and we will see in just few moments from now. So promoted spiritual devotion to God, that focus on inner purity rather than external conduct. Attack dogmatic creed and custom. You don't have to do this, that. Just focus, just sing Qawwali, zinda rehne ke liye teri kasam, ek mulaqat zaruri hai sanam. What does that mean is, if I want to survive, I have to meet you. So sing Qawwali, and here, whom he wants to meet? I want to meet God, not any God or anybody else. No, I want to meet God, I want to meet Allah. So that's what they mean here. Fine, sir. So you have to love God, and that's what Allu Arjun sir is also saying. People have started watching him from, Pushpa. I used to watch his movie Arya. Arya is awesome. Arya 2 is also awesome. I don't know why that didn't work. So if you want to watch his real movies, Pushpa, I don't like Pushpa. That's too loud. Maybe it's okay, but I like these movies more. Arya 2. So if you have watched these movies, post it in the comment section. So again, we are talking about why they are popular. Then, since we are talking from UPSC perspective, pre-mains, everything, so you have to also know the other aspect of Sufism, that is the criticism and limitation, which we will talk in few moments from now. Fine. So, reasons for popularity and influence. Unlike orthodox ulemas, they were broad-minded rather. Broad-minded means if you are, Jimmi's protected subject, we'll talk about it. So, let's say I am not adopting Islam, and earlier the term was coined for Jews and Christians who were in, Islamic people, they invaded some areas and Jews and Christians were living in those areas. So they were known as Jimmies, protected subject. Jimmy, Mithun Chakravarti, there was an actor, his son's name was Jimmy. So by that particular logic, you can remember this Jimmy word, protected subjects. So same concept was applied when Arab conquered Sindh area. So they called us, the people who were living in Sindh, as Jimmies, protected subjects. But again, they had a very, narrow approach, and they were not treating both of us equally. Unlike these Sufi people, they are like, dude, you are adopting Hindu tenets, do it. We are adopting Islamic tenets, let us do that. And they are broad-minded in that way. And that's why even now, we are going to Ajmer, Dargah and all those, and doesn't matter who we are, you know, religion wise. So stress on music and songs, as we have just seen. Allu Arjun song, Feel My Love. I think KK has sung this song. KK was awesome. You can listen to the songs of Arya. That will give you so much, especially this. And then there is another song, Nuvunten is a Mega Satyam, something, something. Those are true songs, true love songs. And music and songs and love, that is being emphasized by Sufism. Very good. And their humble lifestyle. It's not like they are wearing kadas and everything and rings and diamonds and all those stuff. That thing we have also seen when we were talking about Jainism. Now, people who belong to Jain religion, don't kill me in the comment section. When we were talking about Jainism, Swetambar, Digambar, Sthanakvasis, Murti Pujaks. So there also we have started talking about that there are Murti Pujaks who are adorning different idols with jewelries, ornaments, etc. Go back and revise it. So materialistic aspect is lesser in Sufism among their main sense. So these points you have to keep it in mind. Criticism and limitation. See, Barni, we have talked about, see, what we are discussing here. Sufism became popular during Delhi Sultanate, and the major source of information when we are talking about Delhi Sultanate, that is coming from Ziauddin Barnis, and he has written 2 books, which we have discussed a lot. What were those 2 books? Any idea? Which 2 books we are talking about when it comes to Ziauddin Barni? Just give me a second. Post it in the comment section, bros. You people forget a lot. Barni wrote which 2 books? Fatwa-e Jahandari and Tarikh-e Firoz Shahi. Don't forget all these books. Fatwa-e Jahandari and Tarikh-e Firoz Shahi. Tarikh-e Firoz Shahi. So these 2 books are important and you cannot forget them. Please keep them in mind. So again, Barni is a major source. What he is talking about here. If I don't explain it, this won't be, you won't understand what is written here. These are written in like phrases. So Shuhrawardi, we have talked about silsilas, 12-13 silsilas where became popular according to Abul Fazl Raine Akbari. Out of those 12-13 silsilas, Chistis and Suhrawardis were very popular. Out of those Chistis and Suhrawardis, it says that Suhrawardi became a little bit more materialistic. They also accepted some offices in like Delhi Sultanate kings during the reign of these Delhi Sultanate rulers. And one of these Suhrawardi sent, he went to Iltutmish and he asked him that, bro, please persecute Hindus or tell them to convert to Islam. So this is one criticism, that they are not as broad as we are seeing in 3rd point here, C point. Some of them had narrow-minded approach rather. So that means there will be certain exceptions always. And here we are seeing about a particular Suhrawardi sent who is saying something to Iltutmish related to converting Hindus or killing them, you know. So again, Iltutmish was like, bro, there are like the region where I'm ruling, it's mostly Hindus only. So how many can convert? And that's why when we're talking about Iltutmish also, you may have realized during that period we have seen up until then, Delhi Sultanate, somebody was coming, slave of a slave. But after him, people started accepting his daughter, his son, because he ruled in such a manner. So here also you can see his broad-mindedness. Iltutmish rather than Suhrawardi sent, that he did not force Hindus to convert to Islam. Unlike Firoz Shah Tughlaq, who was like, dude, if you are converting to Sunni Islam, he did not like even Shia Islam, and Sufi also he did not like. So he was like, if you convert to Sunni Islam, I will give you this, I will exempt you from this and that, jizya, etc. He is not doing that. So again, these things help you understand why Iltutmish was accepted by the people of that particular period. Fine. Okay, so some people, Umesh and Dark has given some answers. Criticism, large scale conversion. Again, I think I have told you this thing again and again. Don't forget, whatever be the good aspect of Sufism, it's an Islamic mysticism movement. And many people believe that the lower caste Hindus, they got, you know, converted to Islam via Sufism. And we have also seen an example of this, Baba Farid. If you remember, Baba Farid we have talked about and we'll talk about today also, and Khokhars. Can anybody tell me when we have discussed Baba Farid and Khokhars? So we have talked about Baba Farid, we have talked about Khokhars. So, and this we have discussed when we were talking about Muhammad Ghori. So Khokhars, these are the people who were there in Punjab, who were initially Hindus, and they got converted into Islam by Baba Farid. lower caste Hindus, they got converted into Islam by Baba Farid, who was one of the major Sufi saint. So again, you can see what we are saying here. Criticism, large scale conversion. Ulemas and Sufi saints did not see eye to eye. They used to fight on so many different matters. Not only ulemas and Sufi saints, even Sufi saints and different Delhi Sultanate rulers used to fight. It is said that Nizamuddin Aulia and Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, they used to fight a lot because Nizamuddin Aulia took some titles where he was called Sultan of this and that, and Ghiyasuddin means Tughlaq took offense to that dude, I am the Sultan, why are you taking such titles? Accept my suzerainty or subordination. Nizamuddin Aulia is like, dude, I am not interested in these materialistic aspects, near accepting your subordination. So a tussle was going on. So these kind of things, tussle between ulemas and Sufi saints, tussle between Sufi saints and Delhi Sultanate rulers, they used to go hand in hand. Materialism. So we have talked about Chishti means saints or Chistis, more or less Ajmer Dargah, they were very humble. They had, humble, if you see how they used to dress, etc. But same could not be said about Suhrawardi saints, whom we have just discussed, one of the Suhrawardi Sufi saint, and he went to Iltutmish and what he said. So materialist, and they also accepted some offices in Delhi Sultanate or during a period of Delhi Sultanate rulers. So that is materialistic. That shows you are entering into materialistic arena. That is also one criticism. So keep these points in mind, because that will give you a conceptual clarity that what are the good things and what are the bad things about Sufism. Now we can focus on NCERT. So in the previous lecture, which was on Bhakti movement, we have talked about these two particular chapters only, class 7 chapter 6 and class 12 chapter 6. Class 7 chapter 6 pages 7 to 10, class 12 chapter 6 pages 10 to 11 and 27 we have to focus on. So keep these pages in mind, because let's say from class 7, if I go to class 12, you have to tell me which pages I have to shift on. First of all, let's go to class 7. Just give me a second. Okay, so this is class 7 chapter 6. Hope you can see it. Do you want me to enlarge it further, or this is fine? I can enlarge it further as well. So just like Bhakti movement, here also we have to see what is important from exam perspective. Class 7 chapter 6, the content will be little smaller. Class 12 chapter 6, because it is class 12, so the content will be larger. Are you able to see these NCERT chapters? Can I proceed, sir and ma'am? Please write yes in the chat box. And pay attention to the underline. Or do you want me to make it like, larger? This is fine, or should I make it larger? Fast, bros. I think you can see it. I don't think it's small. It's anyway large. Cool. So let's continue, bro. So again, same thing. We will not read the same thing which we have done. Love and devotion. As Allu Arjun used to say, feel my love. Sufism often rejected the elaborate rituals and codes of behavior demanded by Muslim religious scholars. So here also you can see similarity between Sufism and Bhakti scholars, Alwars and Nainas. Fine. And then in the previous lecture which we have discussed on Bhakti movement, we have talked about Nathpanthi Siddhas and yogis and how they were like, dude, you have to leave this world. You have to do renunciation of the world if you want to, find yourself closer to God. And if you want, salvation in life. So here, but they were also like, that you have to look in a look at world in a different way, and for that, leaving world or renunciation of world is an important concept. Not all Sufis reiterated the same thing with Nathpanthi Siddhas and yogis are saying regarding renunciation of the world, but they were aligning on one particular aspect, that yes, you have to look at the world in a slightly different way. Fine. So then there are certain words here. Zikr, chanting of a name or secret formula. This is also similar to, if you remember, if you go back, Dadu Dayal, we used to call, he used to prefer people doing jap. And the followers of Dadu Dayal, where they used to live, that was Thambas. So jap, again, zikr, it's very similar. People do jap in our home, and same thing can be done by, or they are said to be done by Sufi saints, which is known as zikr, chanting of name or secret formula. Silsilas, we have seen that Islam got divided into various sects. Sufism is one of them, mysticism movement, and within Sufism, how the things will be carried out, that was, again, according to different silsilas, there were different conducts. Fine. So silsilas. Now, pay attention to this word. Whatever NCERT writes, be it class 7 or class 12, everything is important. We have just taken the case study of Kashmir. I was telling you that initially in Kashmir, the form of Islam which was very prominent was Sufism. And that's what they're writing here. In Kashmir, the Rishi order of Sufism flourished. And what is this Rishi order? See, understand. Again, let's go back. What we have discussed, Abul Fazl in his Ain-e-Akbari, he talks about 12 or 13 silsilas. Out of those 12-13 silsilas, Chishti and Suhrawardi became very popular. There were other silsilas also, one of which was Rishi order of Sufism. So again, even if you forget Rishi order, just remember Sufism was very prominent, and the founder was Sheikh Nuruddin Wali of this Rishi order, also known as Nand Rishi or Nund Rishi. So this Sufism got replaced by Wahhabism, which is an extreme form of Islam, which led to increased militancy in Kashmir. Hindu or Indian Express article, I read it somewhere, they were talking about this. So keep that in mind. And again here, whatever is underlined, Rishi order, Sheikh Nuruddin Wali. If UPSC has to ask a very tough question, what they will do is, like they will ask you that he belongs to Chishti Silsila, Nizamuddin Auliya or something, and then they can give you Nuruddin Wali, he belongs to Rishi Silsila. So you have to remember it. Just in case UPSC makes it very tough, that's why. Fine. Let's move on. What else is important here? So there are different teachers, there are different Sufi saints. We will talk about them in detail later on, like Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti of Ajmer. He is the most popular Sufi saint of all Sufi saints. He is also known as Muinuddin Sizzi. So please don't get confused here. Muinuddin Chishti and Muinuddin Sizzi, they are both the same, and he has nothing to do with Salim Chishti. So these two are different Sufi saints. They have no relation whatsoever. And then there will be another, we'll talk about Baba Farid. So Salim Chishti is associated with Baba Farid. He is not associated with Muinuddin Chishti. People get confused. So we'll talk about him when we are talking about NCERT per se. Good evening, Kritika. So please remember these names, and again these names will come later on also. Baba Farid, you will not forget him because we have talked about Khokhars a lot. This one. Nizamuddin Auliya of Delhi, again you will not forget because he will have issues with Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq and he will take some Sultan etc. titles. We'll see that. Fine. Gesu Daraz of Gulbarga, just remember the name. Then they used to meet at places which were known as Khankas or hospices. That's it. No PhD here. We'll see class 12 chapter, that is important. Dargahs are the tombs of Sufi saints. Muinuddin Chishti, Ajmer Dargah, very popular. People of all background visit there, but we have seen in the limitation that it is Islamic mysticism movement and that you don't have to forget. Then, just like we were talking about different, Bhakti movement, Pandharpur movement, Vitthal movement, Warkari, Dharkari sect, and then we have talked about Veer Shaivas, Basavanna, their Vachanas, Marathi Abhangas. So similarly, names you have to remember. Jalaluddin Rumi, and NCERT has given a phrase what he has said, that he went to, cross of Christian, I went to Hindu temples, in none of them was there any sign. He is talking about that he did not find God anywhere. I went to Kaaba of Makkah, and he is criticizing every religion there. He was not there. I asked about him from Avicenna, the philosopher. He was beyond the range of Avicenna. I looked into my heart, and in that place I saw him. So since NCERT is focusing so much on his phrases, just like we have seen NCERT focuses on so much of Kabir phrases, so do remember who was Jalaluddin Rumi, 13th century Sufi poet, from which place? Iran. Just like they can ask you Ibn Battuta, he was from which particular place, Al-Baruni, from which particular place? Just remember Rumi also, because he has said such beautiful lines. That's why. So again, after that, that is it. 7 to 10, there is not much here when it comes to Sufism. But if you go to class 12, chapter 6, so much content is there on Sufism, you will feel overwhelmed. So the way not to feel overwhelmed when it comes to Sufism, when it comes to class 12, chapter 6, the purpose is, good evening, Jagdish Oshmani. Good evening. No issues, Kritika. So here what you can do is just focus on the important words. So first of all, what are the pages which are important in class 12, chapter 6? Catering to Sufism. Page number 10 to 21 and 27. Fine. So here we are talking about Islam, Arab invasion of Sindh, etc. etc. We have discussed this earlier also. We are not discussing it. Again, pay attention to the keyword. Ulema, many people sometimes ask, who are ulemas, sir? Who are ulemas? See, they are given it here. Sometimes they write ulema as ULEMA as well. So they are the people, scholars of Islamic studies. Fine. Then what else is important? Muslim rulers were guided by ulema, and that's why they have, or NCERT has explained to you what is the meaning of ulema. Then Zimmi, we have just discussed. Mithun Chakravarti's son is known as Zimmi, and that's how you can remember Zimmi. First time we encountered Zimmi when when we were talking about Arab conquest of Sindh and how they called the people of Sindh as Jimmis. But before also, when they have conquered the Jews land and the Christian lands, they used to call them Zimmi, and when they conquered us in the Sindh area, they called us Zimmi. They paid a tax called Jizya, and they used to treat us in an unequal manner. Like, let's say you convert to Islam, they will treat you in a different manner, or if you are a Zimmi, they will treat you in a different manner. Fine. Now, what laws are guiding these people? Why we are reading this? Do we want to, no, this is not a religious class where I'm giving you tenets of, religious aspects. We are just focusing on the words which NCERT is focusing on. So, Quran and Hadith, Qiyas, Izma, these are the words which you have to understand. And my Muslim friends, my Islamic friends, if I'm pronouncing any word wrong, pardon me. So, Quran and Hadith, please understand these words. They can give you these words and they can give you the meaning and they can tell you which of these is correctly matched. So, Quran and Hadith. Anybody has any idea what is the difference between them? Quran and Hadith. I think I should make it bigger. I think you can see it better now. Can you see it better now? Please guide me. I'm a beginner. Kya send my number? Okay, Jagdish, watch the orientation lecture also. Once this lecture is done, you will understand things in a much better manner. I have made it a little bigger. So, Quran and Hadith. We'll talk about Qiyas and Izma. See, sometimes what happens, we have discussed this earlier also, that let's say the Muslims, people of India, they will be much closer culturally and all those in different aspects to Hindus of India as compared to Muslims of Arabian world. We'll see when we will see certain examples given by NCERT. Which NCERT we are talking about? New NCERT, class 12, chapter 6. Fine, sir. So, here Quran and Hadith. See, understand one thing. Many people believe that Allah is Prophet Muhammad. Allah and Prophet Muhammad are not same. You will understand this in few moments from now, that who carry the words of Allah, who knows the true words of Allah, that is Prophet Muhammad. So, he is not Allah. Please keep that in mind. I am not saying it. NCERT is saying it. I will show you. So, Quran is the word of Allah and it's totally true according to Islamic scholars. There is no hearsay, nothing. It's a word of Allah and you have to follow it if you are a true Muslim. Hadith are the things associated with the life of Prophet Muhammad. Here there is a chance that something is right, something is wrong. So, you have to take it with a tinge of salt. But there is no chance that Quran has anything, is writing anything wrong according to Islamic world. Fine. So, Quran and Hadith, hope you are understanding it. Word of Allah, Quran, and life means, anecdotes related to the life of Prophet Muhammad, that is Hadith. Then Qiyas and Izma. What we see generally when we talk about even Bhagavad Gita or our books also, Ramayana and Mahabharata, etc. So, we read that book, we adopt it, we love it, and we try to inculcate most of the things. But then even in our life, we also try to, in Hindu religion also, we try to do some reasoning by analogy and consensus of community. So, here reasoning by analogy means we try to compare stuff. That does it still hold true in current time? Consensus of the community. What most of the people feel, should we adopt it? Should we adopt Sati? Or no, we shouldn't be adopting Sati anymore. So, all these things. So, similarly, it's not like everything will be from Quran and Hadith people are adopting in Islamic world. So, they are also using Qiyas and Izma, reasoning by analogy and consensus of the community. And these four things, Quran, Hadith, Qiyas and Izma, determine what Islamic people will follow. That's it. You don't have to do PhD here. These words are important. NCERT is focusing on it, so we are focusing on it. Fine. And then NCERT talks about something very interesting. So, when we talk about Aurangzeb, or we will later on also talk about Aurangzeb, so you will see, and again, we have also earlier seen that three rulers, they are by gods, they are, blinded by religion. One was Firoz Shah Tughlaq, second is Sikandar Lodi, third about whom we have to talk is Aurangzeb. So, here NCERT has given certain things, that Akbar, he gave some money for building a church. This is an excerpt related to Akbar. So, Akbar is fine. We don't have much issues with Akbar. The major issue which we have is related to Aurangzeb. And many people believe that Aurangzeb is a fanatic, religious fanatic. And it's fine. You can believe it. What NCERT says, let's have a look at it. So, here source 6 page 11, NCERT is talking about a letter written by Aurangzeb to a Jogi, and Sri Shivjiyo, this Jogi worships Shiv, Lord Shiva, and he is saying that a piece of cloth for the clock and a sum of 25 rupees, I am sending it to you. So, that again is a point which you can use, and this is around 61-62. When we will talk about Mughals, and if you people have a little bit idea about Mughals, even if you don't have it, let me tell you something. So, Aurangzeb reign is from 1658 to 1707. So, this is the early period of Aurangzeb reigns. Maybe at that point of time he was not a bygod, and he is giving certain amount to this jogi, certain 24 rupees. You have to calculate what it is equivalent to now in current times and a clock. So this is again a point which you can use to refute that point that he was not a bi-God. Then there are other points also which we use to refute that he was not exactly a bi-God. Like during 1700 when we are talking about, so the percentage of Hindu people who were employed in Aurangzeb's period, that was larger than any Mughal ruler before him. Percentage, we are not talking about an absolute number. In many people say that Aurangzeb reign was very large, he was covering a lot of areas, so that's why he employed a lot of Hindu people, because he could not do without them. Again, I'm not talking in absolute number, I'm talking in percentage. If he had not, employed more Muslim people, in percentage terms, even though the absolute number of Hindus would have been greater, percentage terms they would have been lesser. That is not happening. He employed the maximum percentage of Hindus compared to all the previous Mughal rulers. Third point, if you talk about, Umananda temple is there in Guwahati. Many people believe that he gave patronage to Umananda temple. So what we are trying to say, he is a bi-God, nobody is objecting to that, but as a UPSC aspirant you have to also know the other side of it so that you can balance it out, and then you can leave it to the checker what he is thinking, what is his view. And then it is also said that in 1700 his reign is from 1658 to 1707. So in 1700 India was not one of the richest country in the world. According to different scholars, India was the richest country in the world during the period of Aurangzeb. So there are different points which you can use to counter that bi-God theory about Aurangzeb, and we should be knowing both the aspects. Fine, let's move on, bros. Popular practice of Islam. So here there are certain things written by NCERT, and terms are important. Namaz, you will remember, many people know, but Salat is the other name of namaz, that also you have to remember. Shahada, what it is? See, this is what I'm saying. Allah and Prophet Muhammad are not same. NCERT is saying that. There are 5 pillars. There is one God. Who is that God? Allah. And Prophet Muhammad is the messenger, his messenger. So they are not one and the same. And that's also differentiate Quran and Hadith. Quran is the word of Allah. Hadith are the things or anecdotes related to the life of Prophet Muhammad. So this is Shahada, offering prayers, that is namaz and salat, giving alms, zakat. And that's why, again, if you revise or go back, so we have talked about one particular Delhi Sultanate ruler who was known as Lakh Baksh. What was the name of that particular ruler? Anybody has any idea? So maybe he was taking this particular zakat thing very seriously. So when you see these terms, you won't remember it until or unless you associate it with a particular example. Zakat. There was one Delhi Sultanate ruler who was known as Lakh Baksh. What was his name? Fasting during the month of Ramzan, that is Psalm. My Islamic friend, pardon me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, and performing the pilgrimage to Makkah, that is Hajj. So Hajj we know, Namaz we know, Shahada we don't know, most of us don't know, Zakat most of us don't know, Psalm we don't know. So please pay attention to these words, these are important. Lakh Baksh, as Umesh is saying, Kutubuddin Aibak was known as Lakh Baksh, so please remember it. And then they are saying that within Islam also there are differences. Sunni, Shia, Khojas, they have their own interpretation of Quran, Hadith, Ijma and all those stuff. Fine. Why we are reading all these things? NCERT is talking about it, plus we have to pay attention to the keywords here. And now they are saying how every religion is influenced by their locality, and that's what we are talking about. Hindus, Indian Hindus and Muslims are much, similar than Indian Muslims and Arabian Muslims or Arab Muslims. So that's what they are saying. See, there is a mosque in Kerala which has a shikhra-like roof. And that's what they're talking about. Arab Muslim traders who settled along the Malabar coast adopted the local language, Malayalam. They adopted local customs such as matrilini. Matrilini, what is matrilini? You can remember it with Gautami Putra Satkarnis, that they are taking the name from mother's side. So let's say my name is Shubham Sagar. I am a Pathak from my father's side. So ideally my name should have been Shubham Pathak. I am a Maithil Brahman. But I did not take title. My family used to take it. I very secular that way. So the point is, I'm taking it from my father's side. If I take it from my mother's side, my son takes it from my mother's side, and it goes on like this from his, my wife's side. Hope you are understanding. So that is matrilini, and matrilocal residence means once I get married to a girl, I go to his her residence and live there. So that is matrilocal. So all these words, please understand, matrilini and matrilocal, they are not same. Matrilini means I am taking my name. No, I should not be called Shubham Pathak. My mother was a Jha or something, so I should be Shubham Jha, but I'm neither. I'm Shubham Sagar. So that is matrilini. Matrilocal means if I am living, if I marry and I go to my wife's place and live there. I would love that. So complex blend of a universal faith with local traditions. That's what we are seeing, that people adopt different cultures, and please understand this. This is actually a very good lecture. So many good things we can understand here. Then there are certain things which they are saying that, okay, some things they can adopt. They are very flexible when it comes to Islam regarding, how they will make the mosque, and they are taking Sikhra-like roof, which is a Nagara style architecture associated with Hindu temples. So here they are very flexible, but there are certain areas where they will not be very flexible, which is very rigid, which is very universal. Their orientation towards Makkah, when they will do namaz or salat, they will orient towards Makkah. Then there are other words, mihrab and minbar. Please remember these words. These words are important and tricky also. Here NCERT is not explaining what is mihrab and what is minbar. So mihrab, prayer niche. So what does it mean is that if you go to a mosque, the wall which they have decorated a lot, and you will see it's very unique, that will show you the direction of Makkah, and that particular decorated wall, specially decorated wall, is mihrab, prayer niche. Minbar is the Qazi, chief Qazi or the Imam, who will be telling you, to pronounce the namaz and everything. He is the minbar. So mihrab, minbar, all these words, pay attention, important, if because NCERT is talking about it. Then there are certain mosques. If they ask you these mosques, don't start crying, oh my God, there are so many mosques and temples, how many we will remember? Remember those which NCERT has talked about, especially if they have given images of it, that means they are very important. So Atiya Mosque, Bangladesh, and then this one, Shah Hamadan Mosque or Hamadan Mosque in Srinagar. Fine. Then other things which NCERT is talking about. They are saying that Hindus and Muslims, we take it as religious connotation, or we, in religious manner, they are. Again, you may have heard about it, that the people who were living around Indus River, they were known as Hindus, and the point is the language which they were speaking was known as Hindavi, and that particular region was known as Hindustan. So Hindu, Hindavi, Hindustan, and these are the things which they are talking about. Muslim was virtually never used during that period, and that's what they are saying. People were occasionally identified in terms of the region from which they came. So again, here there are certain terms which you have to understand from exam perspective, like who is Turuksha, who are Tazika, who are Parashika. So Turuksha are Turkish people, Turkish ruler, and the earlier rulers, all the rulers who we were talking about, Delhi Sultanate rulers, all were Turkish. The last Lodi were Afghanis, even though Khalji were Turko-Afghan, but they were Turkish only. Then the people who are coming from Tajikistan, Tazika, and the people who are coming from Persia, Iran, they were Parashika. So please pay attention to these words. So many terms you are seeing in this particular chapter. You cannot forget these terms. These terms are important. And then Malechittam. If you see NCERT, they call this particular Malechittam to anybody and everybody. Shakas, Kushanas, everyone who are coming from outside, they are Malech, because they don't know the norms of the caste society, the current society. And that's why we were talking about Satvahanas. When we have discussed Satvahanas in the postmodern period, we have seen that they are the upholder of the Varna society. They are saying that no, we promote Brahmanism, although we give patronage to Buddhism, etc. Men will give patronage to, Brahmins, women will give it to Buddhism, or vice versa. You can have a look at it. But we are the upholder of Varna society. If you are a Brahmin, marry a Brahmin. If you are a Kshatriya, marry a Kshatriya, etc. etc. But then NCERT criticized. If I show you that chapter, I will show you that chapter later on. NCERT, in one of the chapters, they have criticized Satvahanas. They are saying they are the upholder of Varna society, and they are saying that we have to adopt or follow Dharma Shastra and Dharma Sutra, commentaries on Vedas, etc. in its entirety, but they are themselves not following it. They are saying they are Brahmins, and they are marrying their son to Shaka, who are called Malech, who are outcast. How come they are upholder of Varna society? I am not saying it, NCERT is saying it. So please pay attention to these words. Who were Malech? In current society, Malech is a very derogatory term used for very, hope you are understanding. So please pay attention. This is not the, at earlier times, Malech was a different word. Maybe it was derogatory that way, in that time period also, but it had different meaning. Okay. So growth of Sufism. Now we have to focus on the term. See, I have already told you many things. So these things will become much more easier for you to follow now. So Tasawwuf, what we have discussed when we are talking about Sufism in the PPT, that nobody knew about the word Sufism before 19th century. Sufism is an English word coined in 19th century. So what was it called before 19th century? Tasawwuf. Kya khane mein khayenge aap? Tasawwuf. So this looks so fancy, bro, these kind of words. Tasawwuf. And then we have seen Suf, Safa and Sufa. If NCERT has written it, you have to remember it. We have talked about it in PPT. Suf, wool. Woolen clothes they are wearing, so Suf. Safa, purity. They are focusing on inner purity rather than external conduct. So that's why Safa. And the Sufa is platform outside Prophet Mosque where a group of close followers assemble to learn about the faith. So we have talked about all these points and you have to pay attention to these points. Just give me a second, because if I keep on talking like this, I will run out of breath. Fine. So if we talk about Sufism, we have discussed all these things in the initial part, the intro part. Growing materialism, they were a voice against the growing materialism inside Islam. And this is not a new phenomenon. This has happened in all different religions we have talked about up until now. Intense devotion and love for God. And this we have seen via an Allu Arjun song. Feel my love. Okay. Prophet Muhammad is a perfect human being, but as we have seen, according to NCERT, he is not equal to Allah. Allah is different. The messenger of Allah is Prophet Muhammad. Khankas and silsilas we have seen. Khankas are hospices where these Sufi saints will meet and they will transmit their ideas that, dude, what are you thinking about? What is your view as a Qadri silsila saint? And what is your view of, like, you know, as a Naqshbandi? I don't agree with you on this and that. So these are Khankas or hospices. Silsilas are these people, you know, who are telling how Sufism should go about their business. And again, there are differences of opinion. So what we have also discussed is silsilas. Khanka is a place, hospice, where these people from different silsilas would meet. Silsilas, according to Abul Fazl Aine Akbari, there are 12-13 silsilas. The most famous are Chishti and Suhrawardi. Sir, the way you teach us is fantastic. Thank you, Kritika. So let's focus, bros. So hospice, Khanka, we have talked about. Sheikh, again, don't have to do PhD here. We have already discussed so many points which you have to understand. Successor is Khalifa. Khalifa we have already discussed. Silsilas, done. Then this is the important part. UPSC and other exams has already asked questions on this. So silsilas, ye silsila hai pyar ka. That means this is a silsila of love. So silsilas, 12-13, Abu Fazl Aine Akbari. Oh my God, what happened here? Just give me a second. Yes, sir. So silsilas, generally it is believed that most of these silsilas are named after a founding figure. But here you have to be very aware. Most of these silsilas. Qadri silsila named after their founder, Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani. Chishti silsila, which is the most famous silsila of all silsilas, is not named after, you know, Sheikh Muinuddin Chishti, etc. You can get enticed by that. It is named after a place called Chist in Afghanistan. And UPSC, if I'm not wrong, in some exam, NDA, CDS, etc., they have already asked this question. In different exams, this question has been asked a lot. That Chishti order has been named after, say, you know, Salim Chishti or something they will give you, and you can easily get enticed here. Will you be teaching us other subjects answer like it was mentioned in the orientation session? Yes, I would. Once I'm done with history, we will talk about other subjects, Kritika. The important areas we will focus on. So please pay attention. This is a tricky area. This area which I have highlighted is important. Chishti is not named after any, you know, Sufi saint named Salim Chishti or other Chistis, Muinuddin Chishti. It is named after a town called Chist. Cool, bro. Then Dargah, Ziyarat, cult of the Sheikh. Again, see, understand one thing. Even here, what will happen? There are people who will abide by the teachings of Sufi saints. But even here, there will be people who are like, dude, what are you saying? Even if I teach very nicely, like Kritika is saying that she loves my teaching. Out of 10, if I'm very good teacher, I will be liked by 7 or 8 people. 2-3 people still will not like me. Similarly, even in Sufi sense, when we are talking about Sufi sense, it's not like everybody will love them. There will be people like Kalandas, Dam Mast Kalandar. So Kalandas, Madaris, Malangs, Haidaris, these people are like, dude, what are you doing in Khanka? You people are meeting and talking bullshit. I don't like this. I don't agree with you people. And these people will be known as Be-Sharia. Be-Sharia means they are not complying with Sharia. Understand one thing, Sufism, they are not going against Sharia. They are not going against, you know, the basic core attributes of Quran or Hadith or Ijma, etc. But when you are saying that, no, what are you doing in Khanka? We don't agree with you. We are under Islam only, but we don't agree with you. So these kind of people were called as Be-Sharia. That means these people are not complying with Sharia and they are not complying with Sufi sect. The people who will be complying with Sharia, they are known as Ba-Sharia. So please remember these words. These words are important. Then Wali is, or again, Wali, plural, Awliya, Nizamuddin Awliya, friend of God who was a Sufi, who claimed. Again, I will tell you what are the things which are important. They will come. Chistis, we have discussed 12-13 silsilas, major sources, Aine Akbari of Abul Fazl, and out of that, Chistis were the most influential. If you have to tell the second most influential, that will be Suhrawardi, who were popular in Multan and for some period even in Bengal region. But Chistis you cannot forget. See, when we talk about Chisti, Nizam means, you will say Salim Chisti, you will talk about Moinuddin Chisti. Then you can get confused that Nizamuddin Aulia, was he a Chisti or was he not a Chisti? So what can you say? What is your opinion on that? Chistis, people whose name are ending with Chisti, they are Chistis. Salim Chisti and Moinuddin Chisti. What about Nizamuddin Aulia? Is he a Chisti or does he belong to some other silsilas? Let me take some breathe. I need to breathe. So I'm breathing. In the meantime, you people have to write your answer. And fast. So we are talking about Chistis who are the most influential. Cool, and we'll talk about some important aspects related to Chistis. My question is, was Nizamuddin Aulia Chisti sent? Hope you people can see it. Do you want me to make these images more larger? Is it fine for you, bros? I will give you 10 more seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 seconds done. So yes, sir, Nizamuddin Aulia was also a Chisti. Although his name is not ending with Chisti, but he was a Chisti. So don't get confused there. Fine, sir. Let's move on. So then let's talk about some important people, major teachers. So Sheikh Moinuddin Sizzi. Don't get confused by this Sizzi. This is same as Chisti. Moinuddin Chisti, Moinuddin Sizzi, they are same. Now pay attention. Dargah we know Ajmer. Year of death is very important. 1235. Now pay attention. This is important from exam perspective. You cannot joke all the time. So 1235, who is Delhi Sultanate ruler? I hope by now you people remember that 1206 till 1526 is Delhi Sultanate. So when we are talking about their year of death, you have to corroborate it with who was the Delhi Sultanate ruler when these guys died, and all these four are very important. And out of these also, I will tell you who are very, very, very important. The first important or the most important is Moinuddin Chisti. You cannot forget him. The second most important is your Nizamuddin Aulia. You cannot forget him because Amir Khusro was his disciple. So he becomes more important, but not more important than Moinuddin Chisti because NCERT loves Moinuddin Chisti. They have talked about him a lot. So second is this, and then third is Kutubuddin Bakhtiar Kaki, because on his name Qutub Minar, is named. So Kutubuddin Aibak was a follower of Kutubuddin Bakhtiar Kaki later on. Iltutmish also followed him. So bros, 1235, these two guys died in the same year. Was it a conspiracy? We will not go there. But first of all, let's try to understand who was ruling this period, during this period. Cool. So Umesh has given the answer, Iltutmish. Fine. Sheikh Fadiruddin Ganze Sakar. You know him, this guy. Anybody has any idea who is this guy? Sheikh Fariduddin Ganze Sakar. So again, we are doing the nomenclature or we are doing the order. Who is more important and who is more important? So the first is this guy. You cannot forget him. Second is Nizamuddin Aulia. You cannot forget him. Third is Kutubuddin Bakhtiar Kaki, Qutub Minar, Kutubuddin Aibak, Iltutmish. Fourth is Fariduddin Ganze Sakar. He is also known as Baba Farid. Now you know Baba Farid Khokhar, we have talked about him. So he is fourth, and then Nasiruddin Chirage Delhi. So this is the order in which you will remember them. So Moinuddin Chisti, 1235, both of them during the period of Iltutmish. Then Fariduddin Ganze Sakar, this is the period of Balban, Balban and Nasiruddin Muhammad, who was the son of Iltutmish. And then Sheikh Nizamuddin Aulia, 1325. Now this is an interesting period because 1320 to 1414. Tughlaq dynasty were ruling, and 1325 is the same year when Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq period ended. And we have just discussed that Nizamuddin Aulia and Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, they had a love-hate relationship. Mostly hate, sometimes love. So please remember this. Sheikh Nasiruddin Chirage Delhi, 1356. So this is the period when Firoz Shah Tughlaq is ruling, FST is ruling. He anyway doesn't like these Sufi saints because he is more inclined towards Sunni Islam, which we have discussed earlier. He does not like Sufi people, he does not like Shia Muslims even. So it's not like he's only discriminating Hindus, he's discriminating these people as well. So please remember these names, they will again come and you will again have a look at them. Fine, sir and ma'am. Open kitchen langar, that we have even seen, we have in our gurdwaras also. So now, let's try to understand. Everything first is very important in our life. We have already discussed these things. So the first book related to Sufism is known as Kashf-ul-Mahzoob, where they have talked about Tasawwuf, because there was no word called Sufism before 19th century. It was known as Tasawwuf. So they have talked about Tasawwuf around 11th century AD. This is one of the earliest book related to Sufism. Everything first is very important. You know, first love, first this, first that. So first recorded text of Sufism, one of the first, Kashf-ul-Mahzoob, please remember it. They can ask you, it is associated with Sufism, it is associated with Christianity, this and that. So you have to remember it. Just remember the name and remember this guy, Abul Hasan al-Huzwiri. Again, my Islamic friend means pardon me if I'm saying his name a little bit wrong. Let's focus on the important facts. So this name will again come, and then Malfuzat, Maktubat, there will be some terms which we have to keep in mind. We'll talk about it few moments from now. What is more important here? Pilgrimage called Ziyarah, that is fine. Among these, the most revered shrine is that of Khwaja Moinuddin, popularly known as Garib Nawaz. So Moinuddin Chishti, who is also known as Moinuddin Sizzi, whose dargah is in Ajmer, is also known as Garib Nawaz. He was a comforter of the poor, as the name suggests. So he is important. And then many people, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, when we have talked about Tughlaq dynasty, we have seen that their approach was very Catholic in nature. Tughlaq followed a Catholic approach. They are like, dude, we'll keep every religion happy, because religion should not come in the way of annexation. We will do annexation till Dwar Samudra and we will keep everyone happy. We want to keep Sufis and also happy. So MBT, go and visit the dargah. So he was we have discussed this, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he was the first Sultan to visit the shrine of Moinuddin Chishti. He went to Moinuddin Chishti. He was not the only one who went to visit the dargah of Moinuddin Chishti. Akbar went. Jahanara wrote a book on him. So he becomes very important. You cannot forget him. See, Akbar is visiting because his sons, he's having, you know, so many boys he's having, then they die, and then he again produces him. Like, I hope you understand what I'm saying. So the thing is, he is conceiving along with his wife. They are dying and he is very perturbed by it. So he will go to Sheikh Moinuddin Chishti's dargah. Then he will have Humayun, who will create a lot of problem for him during his lifetime. So all these things are happening because he had Humayun, who did not die. Because, you know, child, infant mortality rate, maternal mortality rate, you may have heard about these things when you're reading health. So that infant mortality rate was very high during this particular period. So then when Humayun did not die, he offered a huge cauldron, deg. Deg means, you know, a big, hope you can understand, where people cook in, like, it's a big, how can I tell it in English? What is it? It's not exactly a pressure cooker. It's like a big bowl where you cook for a large number of people. Fine, sir and ma'am. Sheikh greeting the Mughal Emperor Jahangir on, again, let's Ajmer. So Moinuddin Chishti, hope you have realized by now that Moinuddin Chishti is the most popular Sufi saint. See, Jahar, and this has been asked in CDS or CAPF. UPSC has already asked a question that Jahara wrote an autobiography on which particular Sufi saint. Who else then? Moinuddin Chishti or Sizzi, and the book name, that is Munis al-Arwa. Then what he said or what she said, I did not sleep on this and that is not important. This part is very important. What is Munis al-Arwa, and if it is a book, who wrote it, and if it is written by, let's say, Jahara, then it is written about whom. All these points you have to keep it in mind. Fine, sir. Then what else? Zikr. There is a singer who sings, Tera Zikr Jisme Hua Na Ho, something like that. A very good singer. So Zikr is divine name. Shama, audition. Again, bro, it's enough. You have already read the tougher words and all those things. Let's focus on the important parts. So Amir Khusro, a polymath, a polyglot, you know, awesome, talented personality who did a lot of things. Hindavi, then Qawwali. Zidda rehne ke liye teri kasam ek mulaqat zaruri hai sanam. In our time, there was a movie called Sirf Tum. And there was a very famous song, Dilbar, Dilbar. But that song is not Qawwali, Dilbar, Dilbar. Zinda rehne ke liye teri kasam ek mulaqat zaruri hai sanam. That is a Qawwali song. And in English, that means that if I want to survive, I have to meet you. And in Sufism, here it means I have to meet you, God. Fine. So Amir Khusro is credited to, you know, have given birth to this Qawwali thing. Earlier it was known as Call, a hymn song at the opening or closing of Qawwali. In fact, people say Call, but even if you see the origin of Qawwali, who has been given credit for origin of Qawwali, that is none other than Amir Khusro, who is given credited for Hindavi or origin of Hindavi language, none other than Amir Khusro. Some people also say that he popularized Veena, or he even, invented Veena to a certain extent. You can cross check it. So awesome guy, remember his time period. Whenever something awesome you witness, you have to remember his time period. In the PPT, we have already seen that he is a disciple of Sheikh Nizamuddin Aulia, who will later fight with Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. We will see it here. But the important part is we have to trace his time period, 1253 to 1325. Now the question is, they were secular. His name is very easy to remember. Whose Kritika? Mine or whose? Write it in the comment section. So please pay attention. 1253 to 1325. So if you trace his period, you will see that he was born during the period of, like, when Nasiruddin Mahmud, who was the son-in-law of Balban, who was ruling, 1325, when he, oh my God, he died the same year when his, Guru Nizamuddin Aulia died. Do you remember? Nizamuddin Aulia also died in 1325. Amir Khusro also died in 1325. Such pure love for his Guru. So 1325 at the end of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq's reign. So please remember these things. These are important things. Very good. Then what else, bros? So Hindavi, Baba Farid, we have talked about Baba Farid, and he incorporated verses in like Guru Granth Sahib. Guru Granth Sahib, Adi Granth Sahib, we have seen the difference between them when we were talking about Bhakti movement. First 5 Gurus teaching, Adi Granth Sahib. All 10 Gurus teaching, Guru Granth Sahib. Guru Granth Sahib is the 11th Guru, and these are the points which we have already discussed. Fine, sir and ma'am? No, sir, the King Nizamuddin. Very good. So, Mansnavis are long poems. Again, let's focus. Dakhani, a different variety of Urdu, and we have discussed this when we were talking about Deccan Sultanate and Bahmani Kingdom. We have seen that these guys, these different sultanates, Ahmednagar, Golconda, Bijapur, Bidar, Berar, they developed a variant of Urdu which is known as Dakhani Urdu. Fine, sir. Kannada, Vachanas, Marathi, Abhangas, this we have discussed already when we were talking about Bhakti movement, Zikr, Tera Zikr Jisme. So here, this is a class where we can sing a lot, because this is that kind of a class. So again, tax-free land, Inam. When, again, go back and revise Delhi Sultanate. There we have talked about Khalisa land, Crown land, Inam land, which are tax-free land or charitable lands. So that is what they are writing. Charitable trusts are known as Waqf. Inam we have already discussed. What else, sir? See, this part is important. This also we have discussed. And in some exam, I have seen, UPSC or some exam, they have written Sultan ul Mashak. That is Sultan among Sheikh. Who is known as Sultan ul Mashak? Again, my Islamic friend, pardon me if I am pronouncing this Mashak wrong. So, Nizamuddin Aulia. And Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq did not like this. That why are you telling yourself Sultan Nizamuddin Aulia, sir? You are a Sufi saint. You anyway should not be taking these kind of title. And I am the Sultan, bro. So please don't do this. I am not happy. So this is what is being written here, that there were instances of conflict between Sultan and Sufis. Nizamuddin Aulia, Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, friction, love-hate relationship. So who was bigger among them? Because it's all about followers. See, at that time also there was a concept of followers. It's not only about this period that how many followers you have on Instagram. There they are fighting who has more followers. If you are saying Sultan among Sheikhs, that means you have a lot of followers. Not good for me. So I will get you killed or accept me as Sultan. So again, these things are happening. And the materialistic aspect, this we are talking about here. Suravardi under the Delhi Sultans and Naqshbandi under Mughals were also associated with the state. So when we were talking about the criticism, etc. of Sufism in our PPT, we have discussed this materialistic aspect. You are Sufi saint. You are talking about inner purity. You are talking about singing songs like Jinda Rehne ke liye Teri Kasam Ek Mulaqat Zaruri Hai Sanam. That means if I want to, live, I have to meet with you, God. And then you are meeting with these rulers instead of meeting with God. What is with this materialistic thing, bro? This is a criticism we have discussed earlier. Okay, bro. What else? Dargah of Sheikh Salim Chishti. Again, pay attention here. Sheikh Salim Chishti, don't confuse it with Muinuddin Chishti. They are same but different. And Salim Chishti has nothing to do with Muinuddin Chishti. He is a direct descendant of Baba Farid, who played a crucial role in converting so many Khokhars to Islam. We have discussed this, Khokhars. Fine. But he was very popular in Punjab, Baba Farid. And this is Sheikh Salim Chishti's, Dargah in Fatehpur Sikri. Akbar's capital, we'll talk about it. Sulh Kul and all those things. Deen-e-Ilahi. Then this is about Sufism. Let's go to page number 27. That is the last page in class 12 chapter 6, which talks about Sufism. And then we'll go to our PPT. This we have discussed all these pages when we were discussing Bhakti movement. Now, focus here. Kasf ul Mahzoob. One of the earliest book written on tasawwuf, because there was no word called Sufism before 19th century. So tasawwuf is Sufism. Then Malfuzat and Maktubat. Questions has already been asked on Malfuzat and Maktubat. So how you can understand these? Out of these Malfuzat and Maktubat, Malfuzat is more important. Let me see if you can see it. Or should I make it bigger? Let me make it bigger. Do tell me whether you can see it now. Malfuzat and Maktubat. Hope you can see it. So Malfuzat, Maktubat. How you can understand? See, understand how, like we have to remember these words because UPSC has asked them. You know, this is the one of the earliest book written on tasawwuf, that is Sufism. So Kasful Mahzoob, you will remember it. This is the second time you are saying Kasful Mahzoob in this particular class 12 chapter 6. So anyway, you know this is important now. Malfuzat and Maktubat. Uttered and written. This you can equate with Shruti and Smriti. I am not saying they are exactly same as Shruti and Smriti. I am just saying for your exam purpose, what you can do is you can associate Malfuzat with Shruti and Maktubat with Smriti. Like Shruti text and Smriti text, Shruti are Vedas and Smritis are Puranas and all those stuff. So what is Malfuzat? Uttered. Conversation of Sufi sense, they are, you know, in like those words are there in Malfuzat. Maktubat, collection of letters, or they went to one place or the other. Some people talked about some disciple talked about their gurus. So that is Maktubat. Written and like Shruti, authorless, Smriti, authored by someone. Shruti, uttered by someone, Smriti, you know, written. Same way you can understand Shruti, Malfuzat, Smriti, Maktubat. And more important is Malfuzat than Maktubat. That's it. You don't have to do PhD here. Just equate it with Shruti and Smriti and that will help you in remembering them. That's it. Tazkiras is to mention, and the biograph, you can see here, this is the keyword, accounts, biographical accounts of sense. That's it. So anything else which is important from exam perspective here? No, that's it from NCERT. Let's go back to PPT. So these are the pages related to Sufism which you have to follow in these two chapters. Let's move on now. So now we will see whatever we have read there, we will summarize it now. So what is Sufism, from where it has been arrived, Sufa and Safa, what do they mean, wool, purity and the place outside the Prophet Mosque, all these things. You have to keep your heart pure, all these things. And then there are certain words, Ruh, Kurbat, Fana, Ishq, self-annihilation, all these things you have to go through. And here there is not lots of talk about external conduct, it's mostly about inner purity, Fana. Self-annihilation, as you can see here. Amir Khan is getting fana, aag suraj mein hoti hai. So again, these are very good quotes, and if I have to translate it into English, they are saying that you have, you know, heat in suraj, that is sun, and land gets, you know, heated by it. Love is done by eyes, and heart suffers from it. Oh my God, I did an awesome translation of this particular awesome dialogue of Fana. And all these Fana, self-annihilation will remind you of Sufism. So hope you are understanding why we are reading what we are reading and how awesome these shairis are. So philosophy of Sufism, they stress on self-delusion. Again, yaar, have a look at this. We have talked about more important terms than this and we have summarized it here. जब हर चीज को छोड़ के ही जाना है, तो हासिल क्या, महरूमी क्या, जीत क्या और हार क्या? That means when we have to leave everything aside, so what are you gaining? What are you losing, bro? What are you winning? Again, what are you losing, bro? It's all here only. Because everything you will be leaving here only. Oh my God. Fine. So again, same talks are going on, silsilas, different stages. Now, pay attention. Silsilas we have discussed how, you know, Sufis should conduct themselves. 12, 13 silsilas. The most famous, Chishti, the second most famous, Suhrawardi, although there is a competition, who is coming second. The first is Chishti, there is no competition there. Nizamuddin Auliya is also a Chishti saint, you don't have to get confused there. Then these Sufi saints, they go to various stages. Makmat, you have to, like when we were talking about Buddha, we talked about that he left his house at 29, got Nirvana at 35, 6 years. So in those 6 years, he also went through various Makmat. Makmat means different stages of pain, you know, of salvation and everything. And then he finally attained his Nirvana. Activities, Khankas, we have talked about hospice. Well, they will meet and they will talk about what is your teaching, Chisti. So Silsilas will, Suravardi will say, this is my teaching and all those. So they're like, no, I won't accept it, or I will accept it. So they are meeting at this place. This is a place, Khankas. Fine. Shama, musical congregation. Qawwali, who is credited for developing Qawwali, bro? Post it in the comment section. We have discussed about it. Whom NCERT gives credit and most of the scholars give credit for developing Qawwali. Zinda rehne ke liye teri kasam ek mulaqat zaruri hai sanam. If I want to survive, I want to meet you, God. Who is that guy? Then date again. Tom become the shrine. Four most popular silsilas: Chishti, Suravardis, Qadriyas, Naqshbandis. And here there is a concept in Sufism which is known as Wahdatul Wazud, unity of being. That God or Allah and we are same, not different. In fact, and again, this is very similar. Again, if you talk about Wahdatul Wajud, which is the concept here in Sufism of one of the Chisti or one of the Silsilas, we'll talk about it. So you will realize what they are saying, unity of being. That same philosophy is said by Advaita of Shankaracharya. He's also saying the same thing, right? That Atman and Brahman are, Shankaracharya, are the same. Atman, individual soul, Paramatman or Brahman is the universal soul. And he's saying that Atman is a part of Brahman. That means we are a part of God. That means God resides in us. And that's what Vivekananda sir says, that Sarvesh of Jiva is worship of Shiva. So in some scenarios, you will realize that, that's why I think there are different scholars who says that all these religions, they are different paths, although the destination of almost all religion is same. Nice. Again, so all these talks are going on. We have talked about all these things. You can have a look at this. Major proponent, Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti or Sizzi. He is the most important Sufi saint. NCERT loves him. Jahanara loves him. Akbar loves him. Everybody loves him. So you have to remember him. Garib Nawaz, comforter of the poor. Most important Sufi saint. Then again, we have talked about Sultan Mahmud Tughlaq or Muhammad Tughlaq rather. First Delhi Sultanate ruler who went to the shrine of a Sufi saint, and that particular Sufi saint was Muinuddin Chishti. Who else? Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. What did I ask? Where did Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan came? Okay. So after the support, okay. Qutubuddin Bakhtiar Kaki. Again, we have discussed why he is important, because Qutub Minar is named after him and Qutubuddin Aibak used to like him. Iltutmish also used to like him. That's why he completed Qutub Minar after the death of Qutubuddin Aibak. Otherwise, he would have left it like up until 2-story only. But he was also a follower of Qutubuddin Bakhtiar Kaki. Chishti Silsila. Again, simple, all the things, have a look at it. But as we have discussed in the previous lecture on Bhakti movement, your major or the first sources will be, or the most important sources are class 7 chapter 6, class 12 chapter 6 and then the PPT. Here the order will be a little different. First you have to read the initial portion of the PPT which we have discussed, where we have talked about little basics on Sufism. Then you will go to 2 chapters, those 2 chapters, 7, chapter 6, 12, chapter 6, and then you will come back and do a revision. This is just a revision, nothing else. You already know all these stuff now. So apart from Muinuddin Chishti, other important Chishti, Fariduddin Masood, tongue twister, Ganze Sakkar, Baba Farid, so many names, but they are same, not different. He was strongly against association with the rich and ruling class. Khokhards. Do you remember Khokhard? If you want to remember Khokhards, do a recap. This is a slide I have taken from when we were talking about Muhammad Ghori. Qawwali question, okay. So Muhammad Ghori, and this was the slide where we were talking about rumors of Muizuddin death, and Muizuddin is Ghori. He went to Central Asia, Nishapur, Merv region. People thought that he died because at that time we did not have Bajaj Pulsar or anything like that. So it used to like take time to know that whether a person is really dead or he has survived. So Muizuddin marks India to suppress the rebellions of Khokkhad, and there we have talked about Khokkhads as well as Karamatiyas, who these guys are. Khokkhads, Punjabi people, Hindus converted to Muslims by Baba Farid, who is very popular in Punjab, whose teachings are there in, Guru Granth Sahib also. Fine. Karamatiyas. Anybody remembers why we have talked about Karamatiyas? Who were Karamatiyas? Qutubuddin Bakhtiar Kaki is a Sufi saint. Why have we talked about Karamatiyas? Who were Karamatiyas? As Umesh is saying, they were Shia Muslims who had also absorbed some Hindu and Buddhist belief. Like we have seen, if you see the mosque in Kerala, they have shikhra like roof. So if you are an orthodox Muslim, you won't like it. That, bro, you have made a mosque and you have made it in a Nagara style architecture. You have taken the tenets of temple. How dare you? But again, as there are broad-minded Hindus, similarly there are broad-minded Muslims. So Shia Muslims, Karamatiyas, they were broad-minded. They adopted some Hindu and Buddhist beliefs. But Muhammad Ghori was not that broad-minded. So he persecuted many of these Karamatiyas, because of which finally he was killed by these Karamatiyas. So Karamatiyas, Khokhars, these names, don't forget about them. We have talked about them earlier. Nizamuddin Auliya, who used to fight with Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. We have talked about him and he is also very important. Pay attention to what we have talked about him in NCERT. Then Suhrawardi Silsila, who were very famous in Punjab Sindh area and later Bengal area. And later on they also became materialistic, which is one of their criticism. And also we have talked about one of the Suhrawardi sent went to Iltutmish and said that convert Hindus into Muslims. And Iltutmish was like, bro, all of them were Hindus only. How many I can convert? I have to rule also. Take your religious aspect with you and do whatever you want to do. Don't force me to do things. I am Sultan, bro. So, and that's why he was liked by the people, and that's why his descendants became the kings, unlike earlier when there was total anarchy. So Suhrawardi Silsila, noted for severity of its spiritual discipline, and again you can have a look at it. Unlike the Chistis, Suhrawardi accepted the maintenance of grants from the sultans and took active part in politics too, and that's why that Iltutmish incident happened. Cool. Qadiri Silsila. Now you can forget about all the, like, just remember Chisti, Suhrawardi, and some silsilas will come which you will understand, which is important, like the silsila which was there in Kashmir, you know. Then here, why we are talking about Qadri silsila? Because of this concept of Wahdatul Wajood, unity of being. God and his creation are one and similar. Allah and us are same, you know, just like Advaita philosophy of Sankaracharya. Atman and Brahman are same. So again, there are similarities in different religion. Now, let's brainstorm on a particular question that will give you conceptual clarity, because we have discussed Bhakti movement in the previous lecture. So, if you do compare and contrast on Bhakti movements right now, that will help you in understanding certain things. So, let's say if I give you 40 seconds, and I give you 40 seconds, think about this particular question. You have to do brainstorming. It's not like, you know, I will give you something on a platter. It's not a non-veg platter that. No, you have to think. So take 40 seconds and give me some points in the chat section. What will you write? If somebody gives you this particular question, believe me, this will help you in a lot in pre as well as mains. Compare and contrast Bhakti and Sufi movement, citing proper example. So when they are giving you this particular question, there are two parts of this particular question. First, compare Bhakti and Sufi movement. Second, contrast. So when you are comparing, you know, you can write the similarities. Then when you are contrasting, you have to write the differences. What set them apart? And in what way they were similar. So frame your answer that way. What are the similar aspects of Bhakti and Sufi movements, and what are the different aspects of Bhakti and Sufi movements? You have 40 seconds. I want some things in the chat section. In the meantime, I will drink some water in 40 seconds and then we'll have a discussion. Forty seconds done. Anything you want to add to this? Okay, so let's delineate this question. So similarities are very, like, common. You can talk about how they are both focusing on inner purity rather than external conduct, They are saying that God should be accessible to all rather than a few people, and you have to focus on music and all those stuff. So these are some similar points, but there are differences also. What are the differences when we talk about Bhakti and Sufi movement? Let's say if I write Sufism here, and let's say I write Bhakti here. Let's say I erase 42nd from here. So what are the things which are different? Sufism, Bhakti. So the first point which we have discussed initially, that Sufism originated from Arabian Peninsula as old as like Arab conquest of Sindh. So Arabian Peninsula is the origin point of Sufism. From there it has come to Indian subcontinent. Bhakti movement, the origin point is South India. Cool. South India, Sankaracharya and all those things. So we know Bhakti movement emerged from South India. Fine. So if we talk about Sufism, it moved from north to south. So it initially came in North India, and from there it went to south, Sufism. And if we talk about Bhakti movement, it went from south to north. Initially started in South India and went to North India. What else is different? See, Sufism is a Islamic mysticism movement. Islamic mysticism. You cannot fine that everybody can go to Dargah and all those, but it is Islamic mysticism movement. Bhakti is a Hindu revivalist movement or reformist movement, whatever you want to say it. There are debates whether it is a reformist movement or revivalist movement, or it gave new life to Hinduism. We can talk about reformism, revivalism when we will talk about social religious reform movement. Fine. So Hindu reformist movement. Fine. Then these are 3 points. What else is different between them? Similarities, anybody and everybody can write. Differences are the points where you have to think a little bit on. So 3 points we have seen. If we talk about the 4th point, what is the 4th point? So if you talk about Sufism, so here the focus is on qawwalis, etc. You talk about qawwalis, you talk about songs. So qawwali is a famous Sufism format where you are reaching closer to God. When we come to Bhakti, we have bhajans, we have abhangas, we have vachanas, which we sing, dance to, abhangas, vachanas. Anything else which is different? 4 differences we have seen. Anything else you want to add? Ajit has written certain things. That Bhakti movement first started in South India in 7th and 8th century. It tried to bridge the gap between Shaivas and Vaishnavas. Did it? It actually, in a way, Sufi mystic traditions became popular during the 10th. Again, time period is a good point. So that Sufism around 8th century AD you are seeing. Bhakti movement also around 8th century AD you are only seeing. Even before Sankaracharya you had Appar, who was in Mahindra Varma's court. So it's also very old Bhakti movement. Anything else you want to add? Both related to spirituality, but both are from different regions. So these are the 4 points which we have seen. Let's see some more points. So Arabian point we have seen, Arabian Peninsula, and it originated in Indian subcontinent, South India. The second point was Sufism was an Islamic mysticism movement, and Bhakti movement is associated with Hinduism. Third point is, in Sufism you see qawwalis, in Bhakti movement you see bhajans, you see abhangas, you see vachanas, based on where you are. State patronage, 4th point. So when we talk about Bhakti movement, so you don't see that much state patronage. They were doing things on their own, but exceptions can be there. But when we are talking about Sufis, we are talking about Suhrawardis who took state patronage, and what happened with Iltutmish we have discussed. But again, this is a point which you have to write in the last. And then 5th point, contributors. Here you can talk about who are the prominent Bhakti saints. Name anyone and everyone whomsoever you can remember, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Shankar Dev, anyone, Sankaracharya, Appar, Alvars, Nayanas, whatever you can remember, contributors in Bhakti movement. And in Sufi movement, then talk about Moinuddin Chishti, Salim Chishti. So this will be your difference. And then the similarity points are all rejection of dominance of few people, rejecting rituals, opposing caste discrimination. This is very easy to write, social integration. These are the commonalities, but the difference are little trickier. So hope you understood these points. All these, like even Sufism, they led to development of vernacular languages, especially in Arabian Peninsula. Here also, Hindi, Braj, Urdu, etc. Urdu happened because of Sufism. Hindi, Braj, Hindi, Hindavi and other languages here in Maratha or Marathi language. And then when we are talking about Shankar Dev, Brajavali. So all these vernacular languages happened because of Bhakti movement. So these are some similarities. Cool. So now again, one thing I have realized, if you are following the PPTs, So you may have realized that up until now, 10 PPTs have been uploaded. Anybody following it? 10 PPTs. And we are at 20th lecture today, right? Which lecture we are doing right now? 20th lecture. So still 10 PPTs are pending, which you may not have got on the podium. So that is my fault. I think I have given till 13. So what I will do is, in this particular Fun Study with Shub, which is a Telegram channel, I will upload the PDFs. I will upload 11 to 13 today. Rest also I will upload by tomorrow or day after tomorrow. So join this Telegram channel and you can get the PDFs. So don't worry too much about it. I will upload today only. Anybody, can you give me an exact number? How many you have got up until now? I think 10 you may have got up until now, right? I will upload 3. Just join this Telegram channel. I will upload the PPT, means PDFs there, and you can look at it. So that would be an easier and swifter method for me to upload the PDFs. Cool. So again, we were not able to do many questions today because there was too much theory, too many things for me to tell you about. So that's it for this particular lecture. If you have any doubts, any queries, you can post it. You can ask me right now. And please revise Bhakti and Sufi movement. Both of the things you have, you should be doing it like in parallel only, like the previous lecture and today's lecture, both do it at the same time and follow those lectures. Read Bhakti and then Sufi. Don't do it like Bhakti you're reading now and Sufi you're reading 4 days after. Do a parallel study. It will help you a lot. Any queries, any doubts, anything you want to ask me, sir and ma'am? Anything? And please revise the previous lectures. Those are actually important. Otherwise, you will keep on forgetting stuff. And then later on, when we'll start the chat sessions, when this, like Bhakti and Sufi, these are very dense sessions. You know, you have to read a lot. You have to teach a lot. It's not like other chapters are not that dense, but art and culture anyway is very interesting and you want to teach a lot. But then let's say we start Mughals tomorrow. Then Mughals will be very, you know, there I can include so many questions. Because that way will be Sufism and Bhakti movement is anyway like entertaining. So again, I will continue the questions. I will include the questions. Don't worry about it. But I think that's it for today. You people don't have any doubts. So I will end the session now. Take care. Be blessed. Revise everything. Don't forget, I will upload the PDFs on this Telegram channel. Join it. Take care. Be blessed. Tata. Bye-bye.